Ukraine is set to ratify the free trade deal with Canada in the next few weeks. This will be the latest breakthrough as the country seeks new global markets. But is it enough to replace the loss of trade with Russia? Joining us is Ukrainian Deputy Minister of Economy, Nataliya Mykolska. Welcome.
Hello.
So, of course, first question, has Ukraine been quite successful in replacing Russian markets with new ones in Canada, in the European Union, in the States?
Definitely it would take some time for Ukrainian business to actually reorient its export to other markets. But what is our task is first to develop a framework of other free trade agreement that Ukrainian business would be actually willing to trade with countries. The second issue is to show Ukrainian business opportunities on other markets and to bring them to those markets practically, to do some matchmaking, to do some matchmaking events. That is what we are trying to do now. But unfortunately, we are losing more than $1 billion because of the Russian trade aggression only this year.
That's just in 1 year, over the course of 12 months.
Yeah, that is in 1 year, and that is in the course of the trade war, including the transit war that we have now.
The transit war, what do you mean by that?
I mean the ban that Russian Federation put on actually transit through its territory of Ukrainian goods to countries such as Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, Azerbaijan, and China.
And Ukraine wants to continue to have investment opportunities there and to have those markets open, as I understand.
Definitely, those markets are natural for Ukraine. Markets of the neighboring countries or very close countries are natural markets for every country. And for us, those markets are so-called historical markets, that the markets where people know Ukrainian products, that the markets where Ukrainian companies invested a lot in marketing our products, and that's the markets actually that are ready now and want to consume Ukrainian products.
I see. Now, Canada and Ukraine have signed a free trade pact. Now, what does that mean for Ukrainian businesses, say, this year coming on the scene and looking for investment opportunities in Canada?
Yeah, I think that you put a very good question, because free trade agreement with Canada, it's not only about trade. Although it's provide 98% immediate duty-free access for Ukrainian goods to enter the Canadian market. The big market with a very good developed economy, with the consumers that knows Ukraine, that have a very close, I would say, consumer preferences, because they actually know what is borscht, they know what is Ukrainian apparel and shoes, and actually they know a lot about Ukraine as a country. And the second very important issue is that this agreement could bring investments into Ukraine for producing goods, for exporting to Canada and to European Union and to other countries with whom Ukraine has a free trade agreement. We believe that this agreement would actually facilitate investments from European Union, because Ukraine have under this agreement more, I would say, better actually market access condition than European Union has under its free trade agreement with Canada. In addition, we also expect that there will be an interest from Asian investors to have here their processing facilities or to have here their assembling facilities in order to export to European Union and to Canada.
I see. Very, very interesting. I've seen in the news that Ukraine is trying to establish free trade pacts with Turkey, with Israel as well. These are quite potentially interesting markets for Ukrainian businesses.
That's true. We are currently negotiating agreement with Israel and Turkey. With Israel, we are moving, I would say, rather fast. There is an interest from both sides in having this agreement actually concluded as soon as possible. We just concluded the round negotiation, I believe, 2 weeks ago, and we are planning to have the next one in March. So hopefully, I think that we will be moving again as fast in the future. With Turkey, there was rather a long pause in the negotiation because of the events that took place in Turkey recently, as well as due to the position of both parties in the negotiation process. But I believe that we will be doing our best in order to actually make the negotiation more faster. But those two agreements are not the limits. We are working now on the priority markets for Ukraine, and we'll be actually launching the consultation with business on what are the priority markets for us in order to understand what should be the next agreement that Ukraine would be negotiating. Definitely, Great Britain is in the loop.
Is in the pipeline, I see. But you say priority markets. Now, what is Ukraine's top priority market, say, at this point?
At this particular point, we are working on the list. What we did, definitely the European Union is one of the actually biggest market that we are trading now with, and it's our #1 top priority market. What we did the research, which helped us to understand what are our undertraded market. So it doesn't mean that they are, that they are not priority, but it means that Ukraine is not using the opportunities on those markets.
So it's a bit more down the list, so to speak. But if we look at European Union, this is the biggest, one of the biggest markets. But there are certain, quotas, and there are technical barriers that small Ukrainian businesses have to achieve in order to be granted these new opportunities. Now, there's been some disappointment voiced by some companies, and obviously that will happen when you sign such a landmark trade agreement and when you go out there. But do you think that these disappointments are justifiable?
I would say that it's always difficult to enter the new market, especially for the companies that were working with the Russian market or with CIS market for quite some time. But they understand that the European Union is a huge market. It has, 500 million of inhabitants. It has a lot, I would say, in terms of economy to offer, and it's very predictable market in terms of the actually business climate and trading condition. And all the businesses, at least what I'm hearing now, they understand that this is a very important market for their businesses. And the second very important point that business keeps telling me is that if they enter the European Union market, it's much more easier for them than to enter any other third markets, because of if they would comply with the quality conditions or technical barriers to trade, or they are actually certified, then almost automatically they can receive the access to the third markets as well.
Now, when we talk about access to different markets, and we talk about direct foreign investment that Ukraine is obviously seeking. Now, what products are potentially of interest that are Ukraine's top products that it's putting out there? And also, do you think, in your opinion, do you think that the free trade agreement with Canada has more benefits, more potential benefits than, say, with the trade pact with the European Union?
I would say that currently we are working on the national export strategy that should define priority markets for Ukraine and should define also priority clusters for Ukraine. It means that we will be saying what are the industries that are the most promising in terms of increasing their exports. Therefore, we will come up with those. But currently we see that Ukraine is still exporting a lot of raw materials. Our major assignment is to make our export more value-added. So to add not a raw materials, not to add, for example, not to export commodities like corn, wheat, but to export, for example, flour, or to export, like frozen bread that you can bake. And the same also applies for our industrial goods. So that is our actually priority task. But we are always talking about export of goods. But what we are now being, Ukraine is a champion in terms of export of services. So basically, Ukraine is known worldwide for its IT solutions, for IT outsourcing. So we believe that the export of services and export of Ukrainian creative industries.
That's the most important thing. That's where you want to concentrate, really. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
You've been watching UATV. Ukraine.